Have you heard of spermidine? If you're into longevity science at all, you've probably seen the name pop up. It's this molecule that comes with some pretty huge promises about helping us live longer, healthier lives. So you gotta ask, is it just hype? Well, we're about to dig into the actual research and find out. Let's do this. Okay, let's just start with a really compelling idea. We all know that things like fasting can trigger these amazing cleanup processes in our bodies, right? But what if you could get those same benefits from a simple supplement? That idea right there is the core promise of spermidine. So before we get into all the claims and the studies, we have to start with the most basic question of all. What exactly is this stuff? At its heart, spermidine is a polyamine. And what that really means is that it's a natural molecule that's already in pretty much every single cell in your body. This isn't some strange chemical cooked up in a lab. Nope. It's a fundamental part of our biology, helping our cells run smoothly, managing everything from growth to taking out the trash.
And this is the reason scientists are so fascinated by it. Just like collagen or a bunch of other important compounds, our body's own production of spermidine starts to drop off as we get older. And that decline is thought to be linked to some of the not-so-great parts of aging, which, of course, makes the idea of supplementing it very, very interesting. All right, let's be real. Anytime you start talking about taking a supplement, especially for something as big as aging, the number one question on everybody's mind should be, is it safe? So let's just tackle that one head on. To get a solid answer, we're going to look at a really important study from the NIH. The researchers didn't just guess here. They set up a super thorough process to test spermidine's safety, starting with animals and then moving right on to people. And they didn't mess around with their approach. On one side, they did a 28-day study in mice, hitting them with different doses to see if there was any toxicity. And on the other side, they ran what is considered the gold standard for human trials, a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study. That means some people got the real deal, some got a sugar pill, and nobody knew who got what. And it lasted for 3 whole months. Now, the human trial itself focused on 30 older adults, all between the ages of 60 and 80. And this is so important because that is the exact group of people who would be most interested in a longevity supplement, which makes these results really, really relevant. So after 3 months, what did they find? Well, the results were kind of boring in the best possible way. When they compared the spermidine group to the placebo group, they found no real differences in vital signs, weight, or any of their key blood work. And people handled it incredibly well. Almost everyone took it every single day with basically 0 issues. Look, you don't even have to take my word for it. This is the conclusion straight from the scientists who actually ran the study. They state very clearly that the data shows spermidine is safe and well tolerated in both mice and older adults. That is a huge green light. Okay, so we've checked the safety box. It seems to be safe. But what does it actually do? The next big question is, how in the world does this stuff work inside our cells? The secret to spermidine's power is a process called autophagy. That's A-U-T-O-P-H-A-G-Y. Autophagy. It literally means self-eating. And believe it or not, it's one of the most critical processes for keeping our cells healthy. Honestly, the best way to wrap your head around autophagy is to think of it as a deep spring cleaning for your cells. It's that exact same system we mentioned earlier, the one that fasting is famous for kicking into high gear. It's your body's way of finding old, junky, damaged parts of a cell, breaking them down and recycling them into new, pristine parts. So how does spermidine get this party started? It's actually pretty clever. Spermidine basically comes in and flips a switch by blocking certain enzymes. This sends a signal throughout the cell, telling the machinery to fire up the autophagy process. And once that's activated, the cellular cleanup crew gets to work, clearing out all the old junk. All right, now we get to the part everyone's been waiting for. We know it's safe, we know how it works, but does it actually deliver on that incredible promise of a longer life? Let's take a look at the evidence we have so far. This is where things get really wild. In controlled lab settings, scientists have given spermidine to a whole bunch of different organisms, from tiny little yeast cells all the way up to mammals, and the results have been shockingly consistent. Okay, let's start at the very bottom of the evolutionary tree, yeast. In these studies, giving them spermidine extended their lifespan by about 30%. That is a massive jump for such a simple little organism. Now let's move up the ladder to something a bit more complex, fruit flies. And what do we see? A very similar, really significant effect. Spermidine extended their lifespan by anywhere from 15 to 30%.
How about in simple worms called nematodes? You guessed it, it's the same story, a lifespan extension of around 15%. You can really start to see a powerful pattern emerging here across totally different species.
And finally, we get to the big one. What about mammals? Well, in mice that were given spermidine throughout their lives, researchers saw their lifespan extend by about 10%. Now, 10% may not sound like a huge number, but for a mammal, that is a really significant increase. And it's what has scientists so excited about the potential for us. Okay, let's take a breath. We've covered what this stuff is, whether it's safe, how it works, and the evidence for life extension in the lab. So let's zoom out. What are the big takeaways from all of this? So let's just put it all together real quick. First, we've got a natural molecule that's already in our bodies, but it goes down as we get older. Second, the first human trials show that it's safe and really easy to take. Third, it works by jump-starting our body's own internal cleanup crew. And finally, we have really compelling evidence that it makes a whole range of different species live longer in the lab. And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought to chew on. The research on spermidine isn't just about this one molecule. It's really proof of a much bigger idea. It shows we might be able to safely boost our body's own built-in maintenance systems. So the real question isn't just about spermidine anymore. It's, if this is possible, what other fundamental processes of aging are just waiting for us to unlock them next?